What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strydent, and today we are taking a look at the FIGMA Saitama, aka One Punch Man. This is a figure I've been waiting for a little while. I pre-ordered him last year because I just had to get him. I was like, as soon as they make one, I'm getting him. And the figure it's a decent figure. I mean, the design is super simple, so it doesn't really have to do very much other than look like the character and be fairly posable. And to that effect, he does a good job. I'm going to show you the ins and outs of all that stuff. I mean, there are some problems. He is not without flaws. Figma seems to be either perfect or with flaws. You know, at least the figures I've picked up. But he's a fun figure, man. I had so much fun, you know, doing the photos for this. And you can probably tell from all the pictures. And it's a figure from one of my favorite anime of all time. You know, the way people are passionate about Dragon Ball Z, I feel passionate about One Punch Man. Yusuke Murata's art in the manga is insane. And the artwork in the show does a really good job of capturing that feel. And furthermore, the figure does a good job of translating what we've seen on screen and on the page into 3 dimensions. And it, you know, seeing it, it doesn't feel like it was that difficult. But there are some things that, you know, make him stand out. And then there are a lot of things that make him kind of a little bit less than, you know, like blow your mind status like I was expecting. Because for some reason, I was expecting a little bit more out of this figure than what I got. But I'm going to go into detail, as always, about the good, the bad, the ugly, the in-between, and, you know, how I felt in general just about this figure. So, as usual, grab something to eat, drink, sit back and relax, and I'm going to tell you the tale. So, here we go. Sculpt and paint. This dude is sculpted to perfection because, like I said earlier, very simplistic design. It doesn't require that much work. He looks the part without having to do very much heavy lifting in the area of sculpting. You don't really have to worry about, you know, is there a wash here? Is there a, you know, this there? Everything is crisp, clean, and simple, and just well done. His eyes look good. He doesn't have googly eyes. The expression is perfect. You know, the expression, it's perfect. The battle face, you know, the serious face, perfect. It looks just like the artwork. The gloves, the boots, everything's painted the right way. I don't really have any issues with how he looks. I don't have any issues with how he looks. I think they did exactly what they needed to do. Now I could stop there. The things I will say is I kind of wish that there was a little bit more. And when I say more, it kind of goes into the accessory part. And so I'm going to reiterate when I get to the accessories, but I wish he had, you know, another head with another expression. Maybe, you know, another upper body with the muscles. Because one thing Yusuke Murata does from time to time is in certain scenes, he will kind of, you know, overemphasize his musculature. Because he is in really good shape. He's in like insanely good, like past peak human physical condition. And the figure seems to be stuck in relaxed Saitama. You know, I mean, he looks good in action, as you can see here, but he's very relaxed. And I would have liked to have had both options. You know what I mean? And, you know, it would be cool to have more expressions. I feel like this is a character who has a couple expressions. It would have been dope to have, you know, a figure that had a bunch of the expressions that you saw. Maybe when they make, if they make figures like of some of the supporting cast, maybe they will make the, you know, those figures come with extra heads or extra pieces that would work with Saitama, because that's something Figma has done. But, you know, as far as he goes, the colors are spot on. The details, you can see there's no slop, none. And there's people who in their videos, they tried so hard to find slop. It's still mass manufactured. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a mass retail figure, maybe not in the US, but, you know, it's still manufactured. You know, it's part of a manufacturing process. It undergoes, it's a product of a mass manufacturing process. So there's going to be a level of, you know, paint defect if you look for it, or a level of you know, things being slightly off. And when I say slightly, it's almost to the point where it's non-existent. But you know, that's just the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you gotta take into account what it is you're actually looking at, and instead of trying to find the problems, actually focus on the full picture. There, especially when there are problems like this damn cape. This cape is terrible. The sculpt is beautiful. It even has a light blue gray. It's like a slate grayish wash. Slight. It's super slight, and it looks nice, but it's crap. I hate plastic capes. You already know this, so expect a custom cape in the future. His musculature, his body, his proportions, they're on point. Like I said, this is the relaxed Saitama. This is what he looks like when he's not doing anything. This is what he looks like when you see him getting the groceries after he's finished, you know, defending Z City from something, you know, after he's fought something and got no credit for it and he decided to go get some, you know, some food. This is what he would be wearing, you know what I mean? This is the way he looks. This is the way his body looks in those situations. You can see a peg hole for the stand. He has one of those cool flight stands with the added, you know, what is that thing called? It's like a extra peg so that you can get extra height on the figure on the stand. His elbow joints, unlike most Figma, they're deeper set so they don't look like a ball sticking out. I mean, they still kind of do, but it's less than what we're used to. Certain figures didn't have it so bad. Like, you can see Archer doesn't have it so bad. I'm experimenting with stuff. That's why he has black ball joints. But he doesn't look so bad. It looks pretty good. Snake, on the other hand, is an example of what the elbow joints usually look like. The more range of motion, the less they hide the joint. And on Saitama, we don't have that problem, so the joint is fairly well hidden. I think that's pretty dope. That's the way it should be done, especially with, you know, modern Figmas. You know, going forward, they should always hide them. I mean, since Saber 2.0, we should be seeing this more often. They still jump back and forth, so I guess, you know, it just depends on who it is that sculpted and who it is that, you know, designed the figure. But I think keeping them hidden is the way to go. The paint and the placement of the eyes and the clarity of the, you know, the details on his face, they're all top notch on the angry face and on the regular face. The seams are covered up. You don't really see them. I mean, you can tell where they should be, but they're not like blatantly obvious. You know, they're not overpoweringly obvious, rather. And I like that. That's part of why I collect Figmas. You know, these things look like works of art with, you know, articulation, and I love that. So, you know, the sculpt and the paint is on point. You know, there's things I would have added, but with what we got, it's on point. All right, let's look at his articulation. Homeboy's articulation is pretty simple. Of course, you've got the head on a Figma joint. Everything's on a Figma joint, so I don't even know why I need to say that. You know what you're getting with Figma. It's usually a standard, you know, full range of motion standard. In the arms, the cape kind of gets in the way, but not enough to really stop your movement. So as long as you have the cape on, just expect to be limited a little bit. The elbows, you still got the swivel at the elbow as well as a more than 90-degree bend. Same thing with the hand. For some reason, though, the hands don't stay on the peg on that hand, on the left hand. It doesn't stay on perfectly. Or tight. It falls off with just a little bit of movement. And that's just for the open hands. The fists stay on perfectly. So watch out for that. It could be just mine, but you know, that's how it was. But the torso is a double Figma joint. You have one at the top of the torso in the diaphragm, and you have one at the bottom in the waist going into the pelvis. They work really well. I don't have any issues. You can lean forward that much. I'm going to use the stand since he's already on it. And he can lean backwards this much, and it's not really a problem to get him in the pose and then have him hold it. You guys know from past Figma reviews, typically Figma joints work really well. They're the opposite of Revoltech joints. They don't click, 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 and then have like that weird, the detents that are so, you know, few and far in between that you can't get the right increment of movement that you want. You can see the legs have full range of motion, more than 90 degrees. You got swivel, anatomical thigh swivel, point. You can pull back. You got the toe joint, and you've got the pivot, so you can do the wide leg stances, dynamic poses, which are things you will be doing with him every now and then, especially with the serious face. And that is his articulation. I don't have any problems with his articulation because, like I said, it's a Figma. There's not much to want from it. It does exactly what it needs to do. So, yeah, I'm pretty good with that. I'm pretty damn good with that. I thought I was gonna have problems, but I don't. And the cape. The cape is super simple. I had to slow down my footage so I can get out all the information about the cape, even though it's super simple. Essentially, you have a cowl, and then you have the two flaps. You have two Figma joints that connect into the cowl, and it allows your cape to move on an X and a Y axis. That's it. So swiveling and twisting to get it to billow in a direction, you can do it, but it's kind of hard because the top of the cape will hit the cowl portion of the cape. You can pull the flaps out, but essentially this is all you can do with it. This is the basic, cape formation. It actually looks good. I think it's terrible. It's heavy. The Figma joints on a lot of people's copies have broken. Yeah, it's just not that great. Accessories. Homeboy comes with a ton of accessories. Not as much as I would have hoped for, like I said earlier, but it's the standard fare for your Figma figures. He's got the tree of hands, so he's got all kinds of hand options. Splayed open, dynamic hands, a holding things hand for the Hero Association mug, fists, and just relaxed open hands. The mug itself comes with the green tea that you drop in there. It's like kind of like a little, filled green mass. You've got the extra head, you've got the folding arms, you've got an extra joint for his hands, you've got the baggie, you've got the extra, there's like a peg piece that fills up the back when you're not using the stand. And then I love the baggies. I know a lot of people don't, but the baggies are perfect because that's how you store all your stuff if you decide to get rid of the box. And then, of course, you have the stand, and the stand has the extension so that you can have him in aerial poses. I like it. It works. I think they did a good job. Because this is official, that peg is not going to break anytime soon. Now, first head is the head he comes on in the package, and that is the standard head. Now we have the yelling business head, the action head. It looks good in all the action poses. You've seen it ahead of time. I like it. It works. I wish there was more, but this is it. I feel like he should have had an additional head, maybe with the expression, but more of an unhappy face. More confused because that's typically how he walks around. He does have the Superhero Association mug or cup, which looks really nice. The tampon on that is beautiful. Look how crisp that is. Kudos to them for that. Not like they've ever had issues doing that kind of stuff. They've always been good at really detailed, tiny tampos. I like that a lot. It looks good. Kind of looks like SHIELD symbol or like the United States, presidency or Secret Service symbol or something, or CIA or something. But now the cape. Oh, the cape. This cape is terrible. I've already said this multiple times, but I can't stress it enough, man. This cape is the thing that makes this figure less than stellar, more so than any of my expectations, more so than anything else in the whole package. It's kind of like they had to do a cape. They didn't bother to think about other ways it could be done, and they just sculpted it and said, hey, fuck it, this is what you get. Now, you can see that it's a large cape. It's got that peg hole in the center so that you can put the stand through it. I will show you more details on that here in a second. I wish that they just allowed for a material cape with a wire in it, kind of like what Mafex was doing, kind of like what the DC Films figures were doing, and just call it a day. But here you can see where the pegs go into the cowl. It's not the prettiest setup. It's going to be weird when I do make my cape and I have, I use the cowl to fill it with, material. It's going to be kind of strange because you're going to have this big old hole right there. I mean, I can work around it, but it's going to be weird. But anyway, the peg goes in there to fill up his back and hold the cape to his back. You can remove that piece. so that you can use the peg hole in the back for your stand. And the stand goes through. It's long enough. The peg on the stand is long enough to go all the way through into his back and hold him up. Pay attention, like I said, it's in the back of the cape, going all the way through to the body of the figure. I don't know. I wish it was, number one, more secure to his body. It's not very secure to his body. It's just an amateurish attempt at doing a cape for a figure that's dynamic enough that he could have just used a simpler method, you know? I don't know why they did that. So I think for many people and for most of the reviews I've seen, this has been one of the major points of contention that they all have in common. Now, in my opinion, even though I hate plastic capes, if you're going to do it like SH Figuarts did with Piccolo. You sculpt the cape, have the cape one piece, go over his head, sit on his shoulders and everything, and, you know, just sculpt it to the best of your ability so that you don't have to do anything dynamic. I would forego the dynamic posing of this cape just so that I could, you know, have the cape sit on him the right way. Give us 2 capes. That's all I'm asking for. 2 capes. And one that's an action cape and one that's the standing still sculpted cape. I don't really like what they did. I love this. This looks good, you know. I'm not even a huge Dragon Ball person. I don't really like Dragon Ball. I like Piccolo. I always thought he was a cool character. I do not like Dragon Ball. But I picked this up. It was a good price. And looking at it, it's a damn good figure. You know what I mean? And they did, as Figuarts often does, they did a superior job to what Figma did, you know? So I wish, this is one of those times I wish that they, Figma bit off of Figuarts with the approach to making the cape for this figure. Outside of that, though, the figure itself, it's, you know, it's not so bad. The accessories are good. We still have the folded hands. These are the extra pieces, those extra arms. You pull out the arms at the shoulder, and then you replace them with these arms. You might have to do them separate. It's not easy to do it where the hands are already folded together. But once you got it together, it looks good, just like the Piccolo I showed you there. Except there's, the Figuarts is one piece. With Figma, they chose to make it, you know, 2 pieces. It looks just as natural. You know what I mean? I like it. I have no issues with it. It fits the way it's supposed to fit. Kudos to them. It's a pose you see him in fairly often after he finishes off, you know, a pretty tough being. You know what I mean? A tough opponent. So this is a good piece. Good accessories. All right. So the bottom line. The bottom line is fairly simple. This figure is primarily for fans of One Punch Man. It's the only One Punch Man figure out that's not Hot Toy size and it's not a custom, and, you know, it's authentically One Punch Man. That's it. It's the only 6-inch scale one I know of. There are things about it that make it quality for us because we see our favorite character in 3 dimensions. But for, you know, hardcore action figure collectors, there's a lot of things, mainly that cape and some of the, you know, the simplistic accessories. Not that he needs a lot, but, you know, some people might want more from it. And this might not be their cup of tea. For me, this is my cup of tea. It's a well-done figure, it's simplistic, it's accurate. Even with the cape being as it is, he still wears a white cape. It looks good. I can do things to make it look good in my photos. This is not a good example, but it's close. But, you know, it's not completely helpless. It's just or hopeless, I'm sorry. It's just that I don't like plastic capes. I hate them. So I'm going to be redoing the cape. But, you know, for some of you, that might not be a problem. A lot of people seem to, these days, be more concerned with how your figure looks on the shelf. I'm not one of those guys, man. It's about playing with the figure. It's about putting him in action and making him look good. If he looks good in action, if when I'm playing around with him and posing him, he looks quality, then I'm good. You know what I mean? If he doesn't, then, you know, it's a crap figure and I'm not interested. They are called action figures. Shelf appeal shouldn't be the thing that you buy the figure, you know, with, you know, focused on that. You know what I mean? It should be that the figure looks good altogether. So yeah, this is a quality figure overall. He's on the simple side. on the light side when it comes to accessories, but they're the right accessories. You do have are really well done. The only sore spot is the cape. I can't really get past that, man. The cape is terrible. But this is a good Saitama figure. It's really good. Hopefully we'll get more Saitama figures. One Punch Man Season 2 is about to come out soon. Hopefully we'll get the rest of the cast, or at least a good bunch of the main reoccurring characters. So anyway, this has been my look at the FIGMA Saitama, aka One Punch Man, by Max Factory. This is a dope figure. If you're a fan, pick him up. If you're not a fan, pass. Plain and simple. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. As always, I am Strydent. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace outside.